Okay, Boker Tov. Today's daf is Pei Gimel, where we're going to wrap up the sixth parak Sochas Umnin and go to Sochas Apolim. But just to sort of summarize briefly some of the points from the last Mishnah, which is an important Mishnah. The Mishnah dealt with the issue about workers that were carrying a barrel from of wine or whatever it was that they were watching. Actually, the case wasn't workers; the case was watchers or shomer sachar or shomer chinam, and they tripped. Presumably, it slipped and it broke. So, are they liable or not? So Tanakama says they take an oath if they weren't negligent, they take an oath and they're exempt. And Rabbi Eliezer says, yes, I know they take an oath, or Rabbi Lazar really, I think is correct, but I don't understand why they take an oath, because logically they should be liable. And the Gemara has a middle position, says the first one is the position of Rabbi Meir, and has a middle position of Rabbi Yehuda that says perhaps the most logical thing, which is that a shomer chinam swears and is exempt, and a shomer sachar pays. So a shomer chinam is exempt, pays only in cases of negligence. A shomer sachar pays in cases of genev and aveda, if it's stolen or it's lost, but conceptually that really is a case of doesn't need to be full negligence. On the other hand, it's not an onus. It's not something that was completely, you were completely blameless about, completely out of your control. So what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is a very logical position. When a barrel slips and breaks, we don't necessarily consider you to be negligent. Certainly if you swear you weren't negligent, then there are the other reasons. But on the other hand, it wasn't totally out of your control. What they say, accidents don't just happen, right? There are things you could have done, or whatever. So he says it's a middle level of, it's not full negligence, it's not full faultlessness, and therefore Rabbi Yehuda says a shomer sachar pays and a shomer chinam is exempt. Makes a lot of sense. What is the position of Rabbi Meir was the challenge of the Gemara. Now you could say, and what the Gemara says, and one possibility is, according to Rabbi Meir, it was like an onus. Even if shomer sachar is exempt, we consider that if you trip and you break, you're completely blameless. Maybe that's a possible position, but the problem is that we have another position of Rabbi Meir that says that if you are carrying something and you trip and it breaks, and then the shards cause somebody, to be damaged, it's a Bava Kama question. Did you make the bore? Were you negligent as a result of it tripping and breaking, and therefore when somebody is injured as a result, that was due to your negligence, right? And you've made a bore is the concept there. That Rabbi Meir says that actually you have made a bore. You were negligent. So what do you do with that contradiction? How can you go from one place to say you have full negligence to another position to say you're totally blameless?
Why is that?
1 minute. And the Gemara's answer is, the first answer of the Gemara is, you're right, they're completely different positions on what Rabbi Meir said. According to one Tana, Rabbi Meir says you're completely blameless when something trips that you're carrying and it breaks. And according to the other Tana, you're completely negligent, one extreme to the other. So that was sort of the first answer of the Gemara, that there's two completely different versions of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it falls into the middle category. Shomer sachar is liable, shomer chinam is exempt. And Rabbi Eliezer says, I know the tradition is like Rabbi Meir, but I don't understand it. First of all, I think certainly a shomer sachar should be chayav. Probably even a shomer chinam should be chayav. It's negligence, especially if it was if it was what do you call it, at an angle? If it wasn't at an angle, if you were going down an incline, I understand you weren't negligent. But if you're on flat ground, even a shomer chinam should be negligent. And anyway, even if they weren't negligent, they should have, or it's possible lack of negligence would get them off. They should need to bring witnesses. I don't believe necessarily their oath, quoting a position of Isi ben Yehuda that says that if they're most likely witnesses around, you don't get exempt by an oath. So I don't understand any of this. But that's the tradition. I'm reviewing. But that's But that's the position that is the position that I have a tradition of. So what's the explanation of that position if it doesn't make any sense? So the Gemara concludes, last line or whatever from yesterday's daf, top line of Pei Gimel Amud Aleph. The Gemara says, Rabbi Chia bar Abba. I'm sorry, no. So, no, it doesn't have, I'm sorry, take it back. It doesn't have an answer. We're going to see an answer in a minute, but he says, I know that that's the tradition, but I don't understand why it makes sense. Okay, so basically, that is approach number one. There's a debate whether Rabbi Meir says it's full negligence or total blamelessness, but within the position it's blamelessness, you're fully exempt. Rabbi Yehuda says it's in the middle category. Rabbi Eliezer says, I know the tradition is like Rabbi Lazar, is like Rabbi Meir, but it doesn't make sense. You should, obviously, there's many reasons you should be liable. Rabbi Dov, you had a question.
So apparently you can compare negligence on the breaking of an object to negligence associated with personal injury and nezik?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, are you negligent? I mean, that was a case in Bava Kama itself, right? It had a case where you tripped and you were negligent, whatever. There's one question about, do you pay, like, do you pay if somebody else gets injured as a result? Do you pay for just breaking the thing or whatever, right?
Itself.
There's first a question, was the fact of the tripping and the breaking negligent? And it has multiple implications.
Okay.
All right. Tosfos makes the point that you're only liable for making a bor if there's full negligence, which is why it's so strange that Rabbi Meir takes like opposite positions. In one place, he seems to say full negligence. Another thing he seems to say complete blamelessness, which is why the Gemara says it's first answer of the Gemara is that it's two positions within Rabbi Meir. We'll see another answer in a minute. Yes.
They were comparing different things. One was I accidentally tripped and broke your thing. Another was I tripped and broke something and left it there.
Well, no, because the Gemara says, so the Gemara over there says, right, you could say the blame is for leaving it there, but the Gemara says the case there was that you were mafkir it after you fell. So therefore, if you were mafkir at the moment after you fell and you were blameless when it fell, then you said I give up possession of it, then you're not seen as being responsible for leaving it there. You're only seen as being responsible for leaving it there if either you were responsible for breaking it, or you owned it after it was there, and the owning it after it was there made you responsible for cleaning it up. But if you were smart enough to be mafkir at the minute after it broke, that's the position of the Gemara. So the Gemara though says that in that scenario, the only liability we can hold, the only way we can get you is for the initial act of stripping, and that's how come it's comparable. Okay, now I do want to point out a very important. There's a big Tosfos here, which it's what he that big Tosfos, which he asks a question that is not in the Gemara, but is very important. It's really a Bava Kama question, so I'll just mention it briefly here. And Tosfos says the following. Tosfos says, I don't get any of this, says Tosfos. Let's say, okay, according to the position, here's the easiest way to appreciate Tosfos' question. According to the position that you had a middle level of negligence, right? That a shomer sacha would pay and a shomer chinam wouldn't. He says, why would a shomer chinam not pay when you trip and break somebody else's barrel? Maybe you're not liable as a shomer, but why aren't you liable as a mazik? Mm-hmm. You broke his barrel. And we say, you with your own hands broke the barrel, and don't tell me you were blameless or you weren't high negligence. We say, adam muad la'olam, that a person is always liable for acts of mazik, even if he was blameless. So why are you liable for breaking somebody's barrel? Why are you exempt for breaking somebody's barrel if you're a shomer chinam? That's Tosfos' question. And this leads, and he deals with other Gemaras as well, this leads Tosfos to the conclusion that a adam mazik, even though the Gemara in Bava Kama said is muad la'olam, is always liable regardless of fault, it didn't really mean it. It really is, you need a certain degree of fault. So you need to be and actually, according to Tosfos, you need a pretty high degree of fault. You need the fault that's comparable to what he would call like geneva. The fault that's comparable to aveda, the type of fault that would lead to an object getting lost, which is a pretty high degree of fault. Only in that case are you liable as an adam mazik. But if you sort of think about it as a continuum, right? Here's gross negligence. Then the next level, and that's a shomer chinam pays. And then the next degree of then on a continuum of degree of fault, right? This is onus, right? And then within what a shomer sachar pays, there's two levels, right? There's aveda. That's obviously you're more to blame when it got lost than when it got stolen. Okay. Right, so that's like your continuum. So what Tosfos says is when we say adam muad la'olam, that would suggest you're chayiv in all those cases, right? Always, right? Even blameless. This is no. Adam muad la'olam really just means you're chayiv in these cases. So he completely redefines what the Gemara means. Okay, and that's why if you're a shomer sachar, if we say that this idea of tripping or whatever, right, is in this category, if tripping is in this category. So if you're a shomer chinam, you weren't negligent. If you're a shomer sachar, you pay because it's up here. But you're not going to pay as an adam hamazik because it is higher than this sort of level of negligence. Yes.
Why isn't the answer just you're supposed to be engaging with the thing, and therefore, why? I don't understand why adam muad la'olam would apply to a place where you're like.
So what Jenna says is excellent. What Jenna is saying is basically the answer that Ramban gives, or he implies, and Ramban rejects all of Tosfos' proofs that Adam is not muad la'olam. He says, yes, Adam is muad la'olam, of course, you're always paying. But and it's not like you need a certain degree of negligence. But, says Ramban, there are some exceptions, not because you weren't negligent enough, but because there's something else to be considering. For example, a whole series of cases that also shows that you're exempt. He says it's not because you were less negligent, it's because the person who got damaged was to blame himself. So if I go ahead and you're lying down and you're sleeping and I lie next to you and you hit me in the middle of the night, it's not because you're exempt, not because you weren't to blame, because I was blamed lying down next to you, right, in range where you could bump into me in the middle of the night. I brought it on myself. So that's a different category. That's not your lack of negligence. That's due to my fault. And in this case, though Ramban doesn't say it, this is what the Achronim explained for the Ramban. It's like, you don't get to call the guy an Adam Hamazik. An Adam Hamazik is somebody who did not have rights to be dealing with your object, right? Whether they were willfully damaging it, whether they fell on it and they tripped, but somebody was carrying around your barrel because you've hired them to watch your object and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and then something happens and they slip. You cannot there are two things. They're a shomer, and we have to say, are they liable as a shomer and what is their negligence? And they're also an Adam Hamazik. They're not Adam Hamazik. Their fundamental categorization is under laws of shomer. That's the place in Shulchan Aruch where you look up how to treat them. You don't get to sort of double categorize them. So that's the other answer, and that makes a lot of sense, but it's important that Tosfos raises the question, which is, so this guy, he's not fully negligent, the shomer chinam, but why isn't he paying as an Adam Hamazik? So Tosfos' answer is, you need even a certain degree of negligence as an Adam Hamazik. The better answer is that you don't get to categorize him as that. He's categorized as a shomer.
So the Ramban would invoke the principle in Bava Kama, like you should have looked where you were going.
Right. But the point, it's saying it to the Nizak, right? Right. Okay. So thank you very much, Jenna, for this. Thank you. All right. So now let's continue with the Gemara. The Gemara says like this: Rabbi Chia, 5 lines from the top.
Rabbi Chia, we got up to that.
Where you didn't?
Tell you. We're the very, very top.
Oh, okay. I got it. Okay, fine. So the Gemara says like this. So repeat what we just said before. Why Rebbe Lev says this doesn't make sense. He says, I don't get it. First of all, a shomer sacher should be chayiv. Second of all, even a shomer chinam should be chayiv if it was a flat level, then he would be negligent. Even if he was going down an incline, where you could say, okay, that wasn't real negligence, he had to go down an incline and it was slippery and whatever. Nami, that's fine if there's no way to bring any evidence, then we would trust him with his shvua. If there was some witness, if there was witnesses or some evidence to bring, nasi raya he wouldn't be allowed to just take an oath. He'd have to produce the proof. The time we turn it right, easy ben Yehuda Omer, ein ro'eh. It says Shrat Hashem Tia Bein Shnehem. Something happens. There was nobody to see it. The shomer gives an oath. Shrat Hashem Tia Bein Shnehem. Hayesh Ro'eh. If there was somebody who witnessed it, Yavi Raya out there, then you have to bring a proof. Okay, so he says. So that's the range. One says you're completely blameless. One says you're in the middle level. The other says, I agree, you should be chayiv in many of these cases, but whatever reason, we have a tradition that you're pater. Rabbi Chia bar Avam Rabbi Yochanan. Now, Rabbi Chia bar Avam says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan a different way to explain Rabbi Meir's position. That even though Rabbi Meir normally says that a guy who trips is negligent, here's why Rabbi Meir says that both and really fully negligent, so both should be chayiv, which is essentially Rabbi Eliezer's position, right? Here's why Rabbi Meir says that they're both exempt. Why? Remember this, Rabbi Yochanan, you might remember this goes back to the very beginning of Bava Metzia. Rabbi Yochanan consistently applies a lot of these shvuot to not be like an ikar hadin, but a special takana. So there's one where people were grabbing onto a talus and they both took an oath, and he says it's a takanas chachamim that you shouldn't go and grab somebody's talus off somebody else's back and claim it's yours. So here too, he says, you know what? Now that means we imposed a shvua. Here we're actually allowing you to take a shvua and to be exempt. Fundamentally, following Rabbi Meir, everybody should be chayiv, even a shomer chinam. You were negligent when you tripped. But Chazal are going to let you take a shvua and be off. Why? If you don't let a shomer take a shvua and be off, and you say that you have to pay if you trip and break something, nobody will ever do it. Yeah. Because you have to pay, because if it's a normal type of an accident that occurs and you make people liable, so nobody will ever take the job. Of course, why don't you just let the market adjust that way? Why don't people then will offer more for the job, or let let the owners give, explicitly give exemption if they want to get workers, but maybe it also means that if the workers are so poor that they'll take the job because they're desperate for it, but obviously there'll be injustice in the fact that they'll have to do that and have to pay, which is interesting. How much injustice is it if we're really claiming negligence? So it raises interesting questions. But anyway, Chazal thought that it was important to do this in order that people would be willing to take the job. They needed to be protected in this way. And this, by the way, explains Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer says, I don't understand this. There's negligence. You should be paying, but that is the halacha. So here's the answer. You know why it's the halacha? It was a special takana to protect to protect the workers. Okay. Now the question is like this. So what type of oath do you take? If you're basically telling me, I think the person was negligent most of the time, but he's going to be a potter anyway to protect the workers, as long as you take an oath, what's your oath? I wasn't negligent? What type of, you were negligent. We were assuming you were negligent.
That I tripped.
What do you mean? But we're all saying that if it really was an accident, then we wouldn't need this takana. This takana means that there wasn't a thing as an accident. So what was an accident? We still think you're negligent. So what's your oath? What's the importance of
exactly that? In other words, it broke.
It was an accident rather than, what's the alternative? Meaning, what are you trying to exclude? What possibility are you trying to exclude? Not lack of negligence.
That I broke it on purpose.
That I broke it on purpose. Okay. So it's not that I wasn't negligent, because we're assuming that, accidents don't just happen. You were negligent. But the point is it wasn't intentional. So, I did not break it intentionally. Okay. Yes, it was an accident. Fine. Maybe you'll tell me I could have been more careful, but nevertheless, it wasn't intentional. Okay. Now Rabbi Yehuda comes. Now we're just going to repeat what we just said, yesterday. But now we have a better explanation of Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir does say it's negligence, but there's a special takana to get him off. No, I don't buy this special takana. People pay at the right level, and the right level here is a shomer sachar pays, and a shomer chinam does not. Shomer chinam yushava, shomer chinam takes an oath. No sechar yushalim. Somebody who's being, a paid guardian pays. Hai kadina, vai kadina. Each one according to their halacha. There's a middle level of negligence. Yes, Rabbi Meir, the tradition is like Rabbi Meir. I'm astounded. How could they make an oath? I get a shomer chinam. I fundamentally agree with Rabbi Yehuda. It's not seen as full negligence. It's only partial negligence. So a shomer chinam should swear and be off. Why does a shomer sachar do it? He should be paying. And shomer Kilo Pasha. Even if he wasn't negligent, he should pay. And this certainly is not completely out of your hands. Certainly a shomer sachar should be paying. But even a shomer chinam, to say that he wasn't negligent. That's fine if he had to be going down an incline. Sometimes accidents happen and you really aren't negligent. On a flat, level ground. How could you swear you aren't negligent? If you tripped over your own 2 feet on level ground, that's negligence. Even going down an incline. That's if there's no evidence, then the oath would work. There is evidence. Bring a proof. There's no everybody who sees it. If somebody does see it, you have to bring evidence and then you'll be exempt. Okay, so that's 2 ways of reading it, and obviously this way of reading it introduces that the reason could very well be, yes, you should be paying in a lot of these cases, but there's a special takana to protect the workers. Now we have a couple of real world cases that illustrate some of these issues. Partly, actually, this Isi ben Yehuda, which was brought just as an aside, and some of these other issues. Let's take a look. The Gemara says like this: Hu gava dahavika ma'aver chavita lechamra beristika de mechuza. So a person was carrying a barrel of wine in the road of Mechuza, in some type of a street. The Tavra Beziza de Mechuza, and he broke it on some type of a protruding beam that was coming out in the middle of the road. Okay, so also coming to Rava, and so he came to Rava. So Amalei Ristika de Mechuza Shchichi Inchi. So presumably this was a case where it's not clear. Is this the same level of negligence as tripping? Is not? Was he a shomer chinam or shomer sachar? But anyway, it was some case where if he would swear, maybe Rabbi talking about the shvua that Rabbi Yochanan said. Maybe you really should be paying, but we give you a shvua to get you exempt. So it's not exactly clear how to assess the case in terms of level of negligence. But the point was that he could have taken a shvua and been off. That would have been the basic response. But Rava is not letting him take a shvua. This is now the Isi ben Yehuda position. Rava is saying you were in the middle of the street. There must have been people going down the street at that time. okay, go ahead and bring witnesses, right?
You
And
don't
so
necessarily
this is
know.
right.
I mean, you know, if I'm trying to.
I know it's like when you're in a traffic accident, you try to get the names of all the people that were the witnesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and your case is a lot weaker, even if you're not to blame for not the witnesses, if there were witnesses. Anyway, that's the point, right? I agree with you. Like how you're too busy picking up your broken barrel of wine to be stopping and getting people's names. So this is what Rava's response was. Zil I see Raya v Potter, go bring a proof and be exempt. Amalei Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef, his son said to him, "Come on, Isi, who are you going like Isi that you got require the guy to bring witnesses? He can't just take an oath." Amalei Isi, yes, like Isi, Visvirlon Kavasei, and we rule that way, which is a big deal. Right, we've been learning about Shomer for God knows how long, right? And here we hear that at least a Shomer in terms of like Shomerim can't take a shvua if we assume that there are witnesses available. Now, the interesting question is, what does it mean available? If witnesses saw it, but we don't think it's possible for you to find out who those witnesses were, right? That's always the important question. What does it mean if witnesses are available? The other interesting question is, does EC apply to shvuas, which are not shvuas hashomrim, but other types of shvuas? Because one of the questions that the Rishonim discuss is, what shvua would he have taken? Would he have taken the shvua that he wasn't negligent, or would he have taken the Rabbi Yochanan shvua? Maybe you are negligent, but take the Rabbi Yochanan shvua that you weren't intentional. And then he says, no, but you have to, if there were witnesses, you got to get the witnesses. That's like EC. So the relevance of that is do we paskin like EC that you can't use a shvua if there are witnesses, right? Only in the Shomrim case, which is the case EC was talking about, or in all cases where we talk about a shvua. Yes.
How are witnesses going to know whether it was an accident? They saw
they
the
could
guy
say.
go into the.
I mean, you could tell certainly if something like looked intention. I mean, you could say, "What did you see?" I mean, it's a good question. What's your default? Is your default to assume it's an accident unless there's evidence of being intentional? Is your default to assume it wasn't negligence unless there's evidence of negligence? Right? That would make it like easier to say what the witnesses were saying. It didn't if you're a good actor, you could make it look like an accident and it was intentional, right? You never fully know, but I agree. I mean, there is a question about what's the default. What do you need evidence of? Evidence of negligence or evidence of lack of negligence, right? That's also a good question. I don't know.
Also, what's the percentage of people who are intentionally breaking something?
Right. Okay, right. It is funny to think that this shvua would be to address the Rabbi Yochanan Takana. Because it would be very rare that people would intentionally do it, and presumably the whole nature of that takana was to make to protect the interests of the worker, to say here, just take this shvua, right? So to say that now you have to get witnesses or whatever, right? But yes, I agree with this.
There's a middle position between negligence and accidental, which is poor judgment, right?
Right. Well, that's presumably the shomer sachar category. Right. Correct. That's correct. And we don't know, is he a shomer sachar or shomer chinam, right? So it's a little unclear what psak to derive from this, which is why it's discussed in the Rishonim. Okay, now another story. Somebody said to his friend, go buy for me 400 barrels of wine. Here's $400 or whatever. Go buy 400 barrels of wine. He bought it. And then he came to him. I bought for you 400 barrels of wine. And they all turned to vinegar. Now, the guy who gave him the $400 is suspicious. Maybe what you really bought was 400 barrels of vinegar for $200, and you pocketed the other 200 for yourself. Okay? So, Azul coming to Rabbi, came to Rabbi. So if 400 barrels of wine were to turn to vinegar, people would be talking about it. Oh my God, did you hear what happened? Plony bought, this wine, 400 barrels, and they all turned to vinegar. So there would be, there obviously some people would know about this issue.
That's like a raya.
Well, right. So wait, Zil Isi Raya, go bring proof. When you bought it, it was wine, and then you'll be exempt. Meaning that people would discuss like if people were saying, so and so had this, so and so's wine turned to vinegar, that would be evidence that it turned to vinegar under your possession. If you can't bring anybody that had heard about this wine that turned to vinegar, then presumably we're going to presume that you bought vinegar. You didn't buy wine that turned to vinegar. If you bought wine that turned to vinegar, then everybody would be talking about it. And now, of course, the question is, but what are they saying? Are they saying that I saw it? Are they saying, oh yeah, my friend told me about this story. Right. Where did the friend know? I don't know. I heard it in the store. I heard it from whatever. So maybe that's true. Maybe it's just the rumor is enough evidence, or is enough to make us feel more confident that you're not, that it's not the alternative. Is the presence of the rumor, it's not direct proof of what happened, but it produces some evidence towards that. But again, then this becomes very strange, because again, this is not a Shomrim case. This is the idea that if evidence is available, we don't trust your shvua in something that has nothing to do with Shomrim, right? It's not clear here. If there weren't evidence, would we need a shvua? Would it be hamotzi michaver olav haraya? Like, what would be the halacha if it weren't for this issue of evidence? But anyway, it seems like a use of isi in a case that it's not, clearly not a shvus or Shomrim, and also that it's not direct evidence, right? It seems to be more of a case of, at least it's not clear from the Gemara, but it sounds more of a case of supporting, circumstantial evidence, as opposed to direct evidence to the case itself. Let's just read the next line. I'll take the questions. Anyway, so also coming, that's what Rava said. Amalei Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef said, come on, ki isi, who are you going like that, like isi? So Amalei, ki isi, yes, like isi. It's real on Kavase, and we hold like it. Michael, question.
Yeah, I was going to say, to me, if you really wanted to know whether it was wine or vinegar, you should get the cellar, right? What you sell. But then the problem is, can you really make a seller take that kind of a shua?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Why not bring the seller? I don't know. Maybe he's getting a kickback from the whole thing too. Hey, I'm supposed to buy 400 barrels of wine. I'll get 400 barrels of vinegar. I'll give you half the difference or something. But I don't know. You're right. Why not get it? And what does it mean, a raya? Does a raya mean two witnesses, one witness, any type of? Does it mean that you have to bring any circumstantial evidence? Let's say it's not about people testifying, right? So it really opens up like a wide range of questions here. Yeah, Jenna.
Well, I was wondering if maybe the what he's saying is if there's a guy out there selling wine that turns to vinegar in 2 days, everyone's going to be talking about it because other people are also going
to avoid buying from that guy.
Right, like there's going to be talk about the
Right.
seller who. So maybe not like talk that you specifically, but
talk that somebody sold wine that turned to vinegar. Right, that could be too. Right, that wine one was sold that turned to vinegar, and then right.
Yeah,
of course, if you're smart, you go to the market. Right. You hear that people are talking about somebody else who sold wine, then you have to seize that sort of opportunity. Yes.
Is the guy assigned to buy the wine a shomer or a shliach?
Yeah, he's a sholiach, which is again proof that this idea of isi is not limited to shomer.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay. All right. So now the Gemara goes on. Asking Rav Chia bar Yosef b'Sichra. So Rav Chia bar Yosef established in Sichra, which is the name of some town. Hani didaru ba'agra. The Itbar, those people that were carrying on an agra is a type of, apparently from what I get from the way Rashi describes it, okay, it was a type of a bar used for carrying weights, right? Somebody would go here, right, and would have and he'd carry this on his shoulder, right, and he'd carry weights like this. Okay, so he'd get that. It would have a curve around it and a beam, and he'd carry stuff. Okay, so they carry stuff on. So that's called, I think, an agra, and it broke. Okay, so he was carrying bundles like this, and he tripped and they broke. Nishalim palga, pay half, because there's half negligence. Why half negligence? My timer, nafi shlichad v'zutra l'trei. This type of stuff. Normally, if you fully load this up, the weight is too much for one person or too much for one trip, but it's not really enough for 2 trips. Okay, this is me every single day. I go shopping and come back from the garage. Okay, it's do I really need to go inside to get the cart, come back out? No, I'll do it all in one trip, right? And it's it's not really one trip, but is it really worth 2 trips? Okay, so anyway, so in that case, okay. So you're somewhere between onus and pshia, and therefore you pay half. Now I got to tell you, I don't understand this. Somewhere between onus and pshia, my understanding that was the level of a shomer sachar. So if you're in the shomer sachar category, you pay full. If you're in the shomer china category, you pay nothing. The Rush reframes it a little bit. The Rush makes it sound like it's questionable whether you're poshea or not. It's right on the line. Okay, it's not before I sort of said, here's onus, right? Here's pshia, and here's gneva and aveda, right? So if you say it's between them, that's the shomer sachar category, right? So then if you're shomer sachar, you pay for your shomer china. But if you say no, what it really means is you're right here. You're somewhere on that line. We don't know where on that line. Oh, just over or just under. So since we don't know where on that line to put you, we're going to say pay half, which is still interesting. Why don't we say hamotzi mechaver lavaraya? It's still when this idea. I mean, it's like a sumchus idea. We don't know, so we split it.
This is a poor judgment. This is a case of poor judgment, but can only be proven as poor judgment after the thing breaks.
Oh, that's maybe a possibility
Right?
too.
Like it could have really held it.
At the time, I really thought, right.
I guess it could.
Right. That's a good point too, right? That maybe, so that's the question. How much poor judgment was it, right? It's hard to know.
It's like when you're balancing your coffee cup on your
Yeah.
That's
you're like, I
exactly
can
right.
do it. I really do it.
Right, exactly,
That's right.
exactly. I know I can do this.
Put the barrel on the railing at the top
I
of
really
the
could have done it if it wasn't for the guy who opened the door. That's when I was turning the corner, right? Anyway, okay. So the Gemara, okay. Now we're going to have the dilga. Now, if you carry it on a dilga, which is some other type of a beam, Rashi says that clearly is meant for like two people to do, and you did it as a one-person job. In that case, Mashal and Kula, you pay fully. Rabbi Barbachana, now this is a great case to end the parak. The following line we're about to read is quoted all the time. Okay, so Rabbi Barbachana, his workers, shkulai, his porters broke a chavita de chamra, a barrel of wine. So, and presumably they were negligent. I mean, the question is, how do we paskin here? But let's say they were being paid and they made them a shomer sacher category. Let's say paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. Anyway, the presumption was that it was the level in which they would be liable. Okay. Shakaligli Mayu, he took their cloak. Also, Amr Rav, they came and they said to Rav, Amalei, so Havlehu Glimayu, give them their cloak back. He was holding on to it until they paid him for his wine. And they complained to Rav, hey, he took our coats. So I said, give them their coats back. Amalu, Dino Hachi, is that really the law? I mean, they broke my wine. They owe it to me. I'm entitled to hold their property until they pay me.
Are you?
All right, we're not dealing with that, but let's assume yes. The key issue is that they're liable for me. Amalei, he said to him, yes, that is the law. You should do the right thing. You should go in the path of good righteous people, which is like, that doesn't sound like din. That sounds like lifnim mishursa din. That sounds like it's the righteous thing to do, not necessarily what's legally obligated. But let's keep on going. He gave them their cloaks. So they said to Rav, we're poor. We worked the whole day for our wages. So and we're hungry. Based on meaty, we don't have anything, right? Presumably he couldn't have even just withheld their wages. That wouldn't have been enough to pay. So that's why he had to seize their cloaks. So now maybe he just wants to hold back their wages, get at least partial payment for his wine. And they say, what are we supposed to do? We've worked all day. We're going to go back with no money. We have to put food. We have to, food on the table. So he said to whoever this was, Rabbi Barchana, he said to him, go pay them their fee.
Then sue them in court for the barrel?
No, don't sue them in court for the barrel. Just pay them and let it go. Okay? So Amalei, Dina Hachi, is that the law? Amalei Hachi, Amalei, yes. Or Chos Tzadikim Tishmor. You should observe the right, not just the Tov, but the Tzadik. You should do the righteous thing. So even just withholding their money,
right? They weren't poor,
but they were poor. Now, this is a Gemara that is quoted a lot in the discussions of like Lifnim Mishras Hadin, right? Because it's talking about going beyond the letter of the law. Now, Tosos does ask, it is interesting that the Gemara here doesn't use the phrase Lifnim Mishras Hadin, right? And the Gemara, and Tosos actually says Lifnim Mishras Hadin actually is more broader application. Like this is saying, if you want to do the righteous thing, if you want to be a tzaddik, this is what a tzaddik would do. And you're a tzaddik, you're Rabbi Barchana, you're an Amora, whatever. Anyway, but lifnim mishras hadin often is a lower level. It means that's more like the spirit of the law. Yes, you could claim an exemption. Like the Gemara, like a zaken veinu lefi kvodo. Should I bend down and pick up the aveda? Don't claim every exemption that's coming to you. That's a type of lifnim mishras hadin type of a thing. It's a more of a yes. There's a technicality you can get out of this, but you shouldn't be playing with technicalities. This Tosos says is a higher level, not Tosos here, another Tosos, that it's like they really are liable. And we're asking you to forego what by din is coming to you, because to do the righteous things, they're poor people and so on. Which is funny because, again, the language of dina hachi, is this the din? Right? It's not like this is what I'm obligated, this is what I should do. Is this the din? For you, so it is very interesting that use of the word din. The other thing, of course, to consider here is that the conclusion of this is not very different than Rabbi Yochanan. Remember what Rabbi Yochanan said. What did Rabbi Yochanan say? Workers break a barrel, and what does Rabbi Yochanan say?
Get out.
Take an oath. You should pay, but take an oath that you didn't do it intentionally, and you don't pay. And then presumably you get paid for your work for that day. So this issue, and I think this is often lost in people that discuss this story in the Gemara, this story here is really reflecting a broader phenomenon of protecting workers' interests, whatever, that actually led Rabbi Yochanan to make a regular takana to exactly have this conclusion, right? So it's not like it's so exceptional. You always should forgo. You rammed into my car, but you're a poor person, so therefore I should just let it go. Right, there's broader, systemic issues here that even led to a takana for Rabbi Yochanan. So that's also important to consider. Yeah,
interesting. No, but will this have changed? Like, let's say Rabbi Yochanan also was poor. This is he's now
maybe it would have changed. It might very well have changed. Yeah.
Has everyone here seen the movie Do the Right Thing?
I don't think so.
Okay, I won't give a spoiler.
Okay.
Related to this.
All right, fine.
This is like a flip side of saying that if they didn't have that, the rabbis didn't institute that law about taking the oath not to deliberate,
right,
then nobody would be carrying something.
Right.
So here, it's a bit on the other side. The person who's hiring,
right,
he might be concerned about what she's going to.
Right. Well, that's an excellent point too. Like whenever you say we're protecting this side of it, like are you sort of thinking about that's the whole field of economics and law? Are you thinking about then how's the whole system going to adjust to deal with that, and who are you hurting as a result of trying to protect this side? Right. Okay.
I mean, they might be wary of hiring.
Right. Exactly. I get it. That's the point. You protect this side. What does that do to the other side? Right. Okay. Moving on to the next parak, hasoches hapoalim, hiring workers. Now, how's workers? Umnin are craftsmen. What touches the word umnin? I mentioned this when we started ourselves. So umnin and covers both people that are paid for the job, which are a kablin, like a contractor, and like daily laborers. Poalim for Tosos is much more generally narrow and refers to daily laborers. Okay, so you hire these workers. Varmalem lahashkim lahari. And you told them, I expect you to come to work, bright and early, and you're going to stay late. Okay?
Sounds like most modern employers today.
But if the practice is not to get up early and stay late, he can't force them.
Meaning for regular business hours,
right? Right, regular business hours. Now, the question is, what do you mean he can't force them? They specifically stipulated. Right? Who cares what the minhag is? The minhag is you work 9 to 5. I go and I hire you and I say, I'm hiring you, but I want you to be working from 8 to 6. So you agree to it. We all agree. Then you say, what? I'm not going to do it because the minhag is 9 to 5. So look at Tosfos. Hasoches hapolim, v'amar lehem lahashkim lahari, pirish ri, b'shesachon stama. When we initially hired you, we didn't say any stipulations. Okay, v'amar lehem achashiskin. Then after I hired you, I went and I said, by the way, I want you to be coming early and staying late. Okay, after I already hired you, then I could say, what I say doesn't mean anything because I already hired you and that was the practice, etc. Aval im hisne meikara, that was an initial stipulation. No, of course you can make whatever stipulations you want. Okay, now maybe not. Maybe there's something known as employment laws, right? We can't say, well, if you agree to accept, 50 cents an hour, you agree to it. But it's not clear because the Gemara is going to say on this pshita. So I guess theoretically you could say that they're like employment laws to protect the workers, but then it wouldn't be based on minhag. Then the Gemara wouldn't say pshita. So the fact that the Gemara sort of thinks that this first line, that this thing is based on minhag and pshita, it seems that Tosfos reading is a reasonable one.
Yeah, but if
this was not the initial stipulation, but you could obviously stipulate, contrary to this. Yeah.
Right, so I don't understand because exactly. You have makom shenago. Let's say there's no minhag. Right? Or let's say there's a minhag either way.
So the Gemara is going to deal with that. Okay, we'll deal with it. Makom shenagu lazu. Now we're going to just get to the broader sense of without any explicit stipulation, you go by the normal practice. And of course, what Michael says is, let's say there's a diversity of practice. But let's anyway take a look here. Makom shenagu lazu yazun. If the normal practice is to feed your workers, you have to feed them. The sapek b'mitika yisapek. And if the feeding not only is giving them some bread, but giving them some nice sweet stuff with it, or Rashi says something to dip their bread into, you have to. Hakol k'minhag Medina. So not only the fact that you feed them, but what's considered to be acceptable, food to be giving them. Ma'aseh Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia, we saw this once before in the Gemara. A story with Rabbi Yochanan ben Metzia. He said to his son, go hire for us some workers for today. He went and he agreed to give them food. He came to his father, even if you were to feed them like you put them the feast like Shlomo had when he was at the height of his kingdom, you would not fulfill your obligation. There, the sons of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. and therefore they're deserving of like great, to treat them as kings and princes. Ella before they start the work, because if they start with that agreement, then we're fully liable. But beforehand, it was not yet binding. It only becomes binding once the work starts. You might remember before when the whole question was somebody backed out. Yeah. Do they have to pay for the day? Did they show up for the work, not show up for the work? So the contract only becomes binding once the work starts. So before the work starts, so say them or them, go say them. No, I want to clarify. The only thing I'm liable to provide is some lentils and some bread.
So even if there was a minhag.
Well, right. So we don't know. So the question here is, why, when he said that I'll feed you, would that have meant I'll feed you as fully what you deserve? Why don't we say that agreement I'll feed you is defined by the minhag medina? We just said that it goes by the minhag medina. So the minhag medina is if you say nothing, but if you're explicit and you say you feed, then all of a sudden it means like a maximum amount. It's like not clear how this story works with the previous thing. Maybe the problem was he said, I will feed you whatever you want or whatever's appropriate. And that's what his father was saying. Well, appropriate means like whatever. But it's not clear again. Why do you have to re-clarify it? Why don't we say Kol K'min Medina? So all this we'll discuss. So that's what Rabbi Shimon Gamliel exactly says back. What is that was all being very nice. You were being a tzaddik, but Hakol K'min Medina. So what did they hold? They hold that you don't go by minhag medina to inform the implicit agreement. So again, we will see this in the Gemara. Let's take a look at the Gemara. The Gemara first starts with this idea of when you have to show up to work. Pshita, obviously, even if you said to come early and stay late, you just go by the minhag. So again, the fact that it says obvious reinforces the idea that you cannot have been an explicit stipulation when you made it, then it would not at all be obvious. Okay, but presumably, well, Lois Pistis read. Initially, you said nothing. Afterwards, you said, I expect you to come early and stay late. And it says they don't have to do that because so the Gemara says, obviously, that's the minhag medina. So the Gemara says, no. Lo tzricha detavlu haigrayu. He says, he goes and he says, you know what? I'm actually going to give you $12 an hour, but I expect you to pay, to stay, to come early and stay late. So that he could say the reason I was paying you more, not $10 an hour, but $12 an hour, was because I expected you to come early and stay late. They could say back to him, no, we assumed you were paying us more. You wanted us to do an extra good job. Now, again, if he explicitly says, I'm going to give you an extra $2 an hour under the understanding that you're going to come early and stay late, that's different. But if he just says, he says, I'm giving you $12 an hour. I mean, it's an interesting question. How do you interpret, where's the ambiguity? Let's say he says and, not because. He goes, we agreed $10 an hour. Then I come late and I say, you know what? It'll be $12 an hour. And I expect you to come early and stay late, right? So how do you read the and there? Anyway, so it's always an interesting question about, is there enough ambiguity for that claim? I'm Reish Lakish, said Reish Lakish. Poel, no, we're moving on. A poel, when he comes in, it's on his own time. Meaning, what this is going to mean is you leave after it gets dark, after it says, okay, and the time, and therefore your trip home is on your own time. You're no longer working for the balabayas. You're going home. When he leaves, right, he leaves from it's on the balabayas time, which means that what the way the Gemara is going to interpret this means the basic working hours are presumed to be from sunrise till tseis. Okay, now normally you might say the day begins at alos, an hour before sunrise. Okay, but maybe that's true. But when you're getting to your job, you are actually, I take that back. I misexplained this. Let me say this one more time. Okay, I'm sorry. So the Gemara is going to interpret this means that when you come home, you're on your own time. Let me first, fine. Forget the specific times. Let me just sort of say what the statement means. When you come home, you're on your own time. When you're going to work, you're on your employer's time, that would be nice, right? I only have to leave my house at 9 o'clock. You're on the employer's clock when you leave your house, and you're on your own time when you come home. The way the Gemara is going to interpret that means that you leave your house at night, at sunrise, and you come home at seis. It's going to interpret it to mean that it assumes that the working day is from sunrise till seis. So what does that mean, sunrise till tseis? You could say that means I have to get to my job and be there at sunrise, but I have to get home by tseis, right? Which is actually, Tosfos actually discusses, that's actually a reasonable position because that means you're traveling before sunrise, but it's still already a little bit light, which is an acceptable time to travel. And you get home by tseis, which makes sense because you don't want to be traveling once it gets fully dark. You want to be home by the time it's fully dark. So actually, that makes sense. And there's one of the Balei HaTosfos who tries to read the Gemara exactly that way because that is the most logical. But nevertheless, Tosfos and Rashi say the pshat of the Gemara is the opposite of that. The pshat of the Gemara is that you leave your home at sunrise. So it means you actually can get to work maybe an hour or half hour after sunrise, which seems like that's a lot of wasted daytime that's gone to waste. And you leave work at Seis, which is, and then you travel after it's pretty dark. So it's very strange, and Tosfos acknowledges it, but it's what the Gemara sounds like, although he tries to read the Gemara in the flip. So again, the idea is that the workday is from sunrise till Tseis HaKochavim, and it's saying for the when you're going to work, you're on your employer's time, so you leave your house at Nate's, and when you're going home, you're on your own time. So you have to stay at work until it says. Let's read this.
Doesn't Shalom mean that that's your own time? Bechnisato means when you get into work, it's your time.
No, so that's the flip. Read Knisato means come into work, but normally the word Knisato, and certainly this the pasuk when comes when you're Nichnas La'ir, and Yetziato is when you're Yotzei Min Habayit and you're Yotzei to work. Okay, so maybe that's what was confusing you.
Yeah.
All right, let's read the pasuk. It's based on the next pasuk. Shenemar, it says, "Tizrach Hashemesh Seifun." When the sun rises, they will gather. This is talking about the nocturnal animals. Okay, the Elmon Sun Yerbatzun, until their dwelling places they will lie down. These are the nocturnal animals. Yatsa Adam Lepoalo, a person goes out to work. So that's Yitziato, right? So it's sunrise. Tizrach Hashemesh, and you are being Yotzei, you are going out to work. And you work until night. Okay, so again, you're leaving to go to work at sunrise, Tizrach Hashemesh, and you're working Adei Arev until night. So that's the reading that you leave your home at sunrise. Work is from sunrise till tseis. You leave at sunrise and you come back after tseis. So the workday is sunrise tseis, but the going to work is on your employer's time, and the going home is after tseis on your own time. But again, Tosfos tries to reread this in a flip way, which makes a lot more sense. Travel from Alos, get to work maybe at 8, but travel while it's daylight. While even earlier on, so you have a full day left, but while the day begins to break, and go home and leave so that you can get home by tseis. But so Tosfos tries to read it that way, but in the end he prefers this reading. Yes.
No mention of when you daven.
Yeah,
that we could do Gemara brachos. Moving on. Okay, let's get a little bit further. Where it says like this. Okay, so the Gemara says, let's just see what the practice is. It's a new city. Okay, so we don't have any established practice, so we go by the psukim. Let's see where the people came from the new city, right? They didn't just get created yesh me'ayin, they came from somewhere. Okay, so the Gemara says, "B'nakutai," when they're gathered from a lot of different places, it's a cosmopolitan city. People are coming from all over. Or you said explicitly that no, we're going to go according to the parameters that are in the Torah, and here are the parameters in the Torah. But it is interesting because the Gemara also acknowledges there are places that don't have a minhag, that have a diversity of minhagim, and then you have to look somewhere else for what the implicit standards are. Okay. What's meant by the verse? God makes darkness fall and there's night. Then we'll travel around, wander around all of the animals of the forest, the nocturnal animals. So we're going to interpret this as as a metaphor. When darkness falls and there's night, this is this world, which is like nighttime compared to the world to come. Then all the animals sort of wander around. So who are the animals? The chaya, right? Like wild animals. Those are the wicked people, Shabo, in this world. Shadomim l'chaya, shabiyar. They're like these wild animals in the forest. So they're the ones, meaning in this world, which is like night, that's when the Rishonim have like, the same way, at nighttime, it's the nocturnal animals, the wild animals that have dominion in the nighttime. In this world, the Rishonim have dominion, okay? Because this world is night. But when the sun rises, they'll gather in, right? In Olam Haba, there won't be any of those wild animals. And then to their dwelling places they will lie down. So when the sun rises for the righteous in the world to come, then they will be gathered in and they'll go to Gehenna. And now read this referring to the tzaddikim. On their own time. The tzaddikim will lie down in their dwelling places. Everyone has their own lair, their own dwelling place. Every righteous person has a dwelling place in the Olam Haba fit for the level that they've achieved. Yatsa Adam Lefa'alo, a person goes out to work. Yetzi Tzadikim L'Kabel Scharan, they will go out to receive their reward for all the work they did in this world to keep the mitzvot. And to their work until nightfall. Meaning until the work that they did until they die. The one that God will reward them, not in this world, but after they die in the world to come. Again, it's always so fascinating, right? Because all this is so against the biblical theology. You do the mitzvahs and you get rewarded in this world. And Chazal completely, obviously recognize that that's not what happens, right? So they read in the psukim a very explicit, it's not even no longer a problem of tzaddik v'ralo. This is the way it is. This world, Rishai, you have shlita, you'll get your reward in the world to come. Okay? Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon ashkach lahu farhagona. So Rabbi Eliezer Reb Shimon found a what does Rashi again say this for Hagona is this is a great story. He found somebody.
Official, right?
He found an official who was appointed by the king. Okay, the Katafis Ganvi. He was a policeman. His job was to seize robbers. Amrle hechi yachaltulu. He said, "How are you able to seize them and to identify them and out scheme them? Aren't they compared to wild animals? Apparently, this was a Jewish guy. All of the wild animals of the forest will wander around." So some say he quoted another pasuk to him. They will lie in wait like a lion in his lair. Okay, so I don't know. Dilma. So anyway, first of all, how do you know that? How are you able to trap them? And anyway, how do you know you got the right people? Maybe that's the same question. Maybe you're seizing innocent people and you're letting the guilty go off free. So Amrle Umaya Avitz. So what? But what am I supposed to do? Harmana de Malkahu. It's the king's orders. I got to do it. The king ordered me. Let me teach you how you can identify who the thieves are, who the ganavim are. Okay, go into at 4:00 at 10 a.m., which is when everybody gets their break for a late breakfast. This is the standard workers' break when they go to the store coffee. Well, it's not coffee. They have their meal then. Okay, so everybody takes a break and goes and gets their meal at the diner. So go to the diner at that time. And if you see somebody drinking wine and holding a cup in his hand and dozing off, okay, so the question is, why are you dozing off? It's only 10 a.m. So ask about that person. Remember if he's a Talmud Chacham and he's dozing off drinking a little early. Everybody's drinking a little early. Anyway, saying, that's because he gets up really early. They get up early in the morning in order to learn, like everybody here for the Daf Yomi. So that's why by 10 o'clock you need a little nap.
You'll fall asleep.
If he's a worker, he gets up early for his work, which doesn't fit with the last thing there about Netzachama, right? If you're getting up early, that's before sunrise. Anyway, but that's maybe, but normally you would get up earlier than that. So if it's a normal day laborer, he got up early. If he's a night worker, so he should be sleeping now. Anyway, Dude Radi. Then maybe the reason is because Rashi says this is somebody that that deals with making metal strings or something like that. Anyway, some type of a work that he could be doing at night that could have brought it, he could have been up all night doing it. And that would explain why he's sleepy. But if it's none of those other explanations, then why is he sleeping? Because what was he doing at night? He was stealing. Ganavahu, V'tafse, then he's a Ganav and you should seize him. Okay, so this is what he said. So here he figured out he knew the strategy or whatever to find it. So this was heard in the over in the palace. Amru, and they said this is such a great line. This is used Karaina di Garta, the one who reads the letter, the proclamation. He should be the one to execute it. Okay, so it's meaning what a great idea. You should be the one to carry it out. You know what you're doing. Guess who now is our new policeman? You, okay? So Rebbe Eliezer Reb Shimon became the king's policeman, okay? Rebbe Eliezer Reb Shimon, the Katafas Ganavi, okay? So then they took Rebbe Eliezer Reb Shimon, that he now is the policeman, and he was now seizing Ganavim. Okay, if Azu Shalachle Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha heard that this Chashav rabbi here is is seizing Ganavim, and he said Chometz ben Yayin. Vinegar, son of wine, reminds us of our vinegar and wine story from the first Amud. Okay, how long are you going to give over? Because he was seizing Jewish Ganavim. Everybody here is Jewish in the story, except for the king. How often are you going to be? And presumably, a Ganav didn't just get thrown into prison. A Ganav got killed. Yeah. So how long are you going to be? What are you doing? You're working with the government to send Jews to to prison to get them killed. So it is a very relevant Gemara because it's telling about. I don't know. It comes up elsewhere. Anyway, because it's very relevant nowadays. Like people say, can I be a prosecutor? Can I be a policeman? Can I be a this? Can I be that? Right?
Or are you quote unquote a moser?
And well, right? Are you a moser? And how do you know you get the right person? And then and how do you know? Let's say you send somebody to prison, and often horrific things can happen in prison and so on. So so he says, how could you be doing this? Shalachle, he said back to him, Kotzimani Michalamina Kerem. I'm getting rid of the thorns from the vineyard. Yes, actually, this is God's work to actually do this, which is interesting, right? Because it does seem a little disproportionate to the Torah law, about what's happening. Shalachle, he said to him, let the owner of the vineyard come and get rid of the thorns. That's not your responsibility. That's God's responsibility. Okay, so we will pause here. It's such a great story, and I don't want to rush through the rest. I will leave you with a cliffhanger in the middle of what's going to happen with this story here of the Jewish policeman and the Jewish Ganavim. Okay.
Yeah. No, so I don't understand what we're trying.